I'm still boiling over from that game. And if you're watching this, I know you are too. You felt it in your chest the moment the defense kept leaving guys wide open. The moment a tackle looked like a statue, and the zone coverage acted like a suggestion instead of a plan. I don't want to bury the lead. This wasn't just a bad half or one bad drive. It was a recurring pattern that makes you ask the hard question. Do we actually know who we are on defense? You watched someone stand in a zone and let receivers stroll past like they had a backstage pass, and you thought, how is this allowed? That's where the anger starts. It isn't hot takes for the sake of clicks. It's real frustration at seeing draft capital and coaching time not translate to competent basics. You cheered for the offense when Dak found windows. You still loved the hustle on a few plays, but the defense, man, it made average opponents look like they've been practicing against our installs all week. I heard the same phrases you said in the group chat. Fire the coordinator. We can't stop the run. Why do guys freeze in zones? Those aren't rhetorical. They are the exact reactions of a fan base that expects better from this roster and this front office. Before we dive in, tell me in the comments one sentence. What single play made you the most mad? And hit the poll. Should the defensive coordinator be on the hot seat? Yes or no? If you're new here, please subscribe and help us get to 16,000 subscribers. Smash the like button if you agree this defense needs accountability. And stick around because I'm breaking down exactly where the coverage and personnel failed, what coaching choices made it worse, and what realistic fixes could change the narrative. I've been going through the tape, and it's painful to admit how predictable our breakdowns have become. You don't even need to be an expert to see it. You can feel it in the rhythm of the game. Every time the opposing quarterback drops back, you already sense a receiver is about to pop open in the soft middle of the field. That's not bad luck. That's the result of defensive personnel and a system that aren't syncing. We've been told for years that the Cowboys draft well, especially on defense. But when you start naming names, Sam Williams, Maisie Smith, DeMarvion Overshone before the injury, Bossman Fat. How many of those guys have truly become reliable difference makers? It feels like outside of Micah Parsons and Darren Bland, the impact players are few and far between. The frustrating part is, the defense doesn't lack talent on paper. It lacks identity. When a defense can't decide if it wants to be aggressive or bend but don't break, it ends up doing neither. Zone coverage, in theory, keeps things safe. But the way we're running it, it looks like everyone's just guarding grass. Corners stay glued to invisible borders, while receivers cross right in front of them. Safeties hesitate. Linebackers drift. And before you know it, a simple slant turns into a 20-yard gain. Watching this group is like watching a band where every musician is playing a different song. You can see the confusion on their faces after every busted play. And it's not just coverage. The run defense is just as bad. Gaps collapsing, edge rushers getting too far upfield, linebackers taking poor angles. Opposing backs are finding cutback lanes as if they were drawn for them on a whiteboard. Compare that to the offensive side of the ball where you can see progression, Tyler Smith, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson showing up in moments. There's development and continuity on offense that we can point to. On defense, we've had first and second rounders barely cracking the rotation while undrafted guys are the ones flashing. That's not a sustainable formula for a contender. You can't keep hoping for another Micah Parsons to bail you out every few seasons. So here's a practical question for you. Which young defender on this roster do you still believe can turn it around? Drop their name below and tell me why. And while you're at it, vote in the poll. Would you rather see Dallas invest in a veteran defensive back this season or double down on the front seven and go after another run stopper? DB or DL? I want to see what the fan base actually thinks, because that debate shows how we prioritize fixing holes today versus developing depth for tomorrow. Now, let's talk coaching, because talent without trust and communication is useless. When fans shout, "Fire the defensive coordinator," it's understandable. It feels like the only thing left to do when your defense looks lost every drive. But here's where things get tricky. This isn't Madden. You can't just swap a playbook midweek and expect the players to magically understand a brand new system in 3 practices. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's all the time they get before facing another opponent. So even if you fire the coordinator today, you're not reinventing the defense by the weekend. That's part of what makes this so frustrating. The scheme might be broken, but the timing makes fixing it nearly impossible. What we're seeing from this group is a communication problem layered on top of a confidence problem. Players aren't reacting. They're thinking, hesitating, second-guessing. That hesitation turns routine tackles into missed ones, and routine coverages into big plays. The body language on the field says it all. Shoulders slumped, eyes darting after every snap. When that happens, even talented defenders lose their edge because they don't believe in what they're being asked to do. This defense feels like it's waiting for direction instead of taking control. And that's on coaching. It's on preparation. When you watch the great units around the league, you see chemistry and accountability. If one guy messes up his assignment, the next guy covers for him instinctively. The Cowboys don't have that cohesion right now. You can't build it with 3 short. Practices a week, unless everyone's locked in, and the leadership is rock solid. Whether that leadership needs a shake-up at the top or simply a reshuffle of responsibilities is the big question. Sometimes it's not about firing someone at the top, but about giving more responsibility to assistants who connect better with the locker room. Players know which coaches they respond to. So here's the real debate. Would you make a coaching change right now, or ride it out until mid-season to avoid even more chaos? Vote in the poll and explain your choice in 1 sentence. If you think a new voice could spark urgency, say it. If you think it would only make things worse mid-season, say that too. This is about accountability, but also about being realistic with what's fixable right now. All right, now let's turn the page from frustration to reality. Because sitting around pointing fingers doesn't fix the next game. The question now is, what should the Cowboys actually do from here? And yes, I know, it's tempting to throw up your hands and say, nothing will change. But if we're being fair, there are still paths forward, though they require urgency, honesty, and a willingness to make uncomfortable adjustments. First off, the roster needs tweaking, not a complete overhaul. The front office has to stop waiting for certain players to develop when it's clear they're not progressing. That means more snaps for guys who hustle, even if they're undrafted or less hyped. You want players who attack the ball, not ones frozen in thought. Rotate the defensive line more aggressively, let younger, hungry guys take reps, and find out who truly wants it. Because when your top draft picks are healthy scratches, like we saw with some rotation decisions, that's a massive red flag. Either they're being misused or misevaluated, and both fall on coaching. Then there's the coverage scheme. The Cowboys have got to simplify. No more overthinking zone boundaries or playing scared. Tighten the cadre cushions, force contested throws, and bring back a little swagger. If you get beat while being aggressive, fans will live with that. But getting diced up because you're sitting in soft zones? That's what drives everyone crazy. Shift the mindset from "don't get burned" to "make them earn it." Every player on that field has to take personal pride in not letting their man beat them, period. Communication at the line, eye contact between DBs and safeties, and a clear assignment chart for linebackers on crossing routes. These sound small, but they're the nuts and bolts that prevent a soft zone from becoming Swiss cheese. And let's be real, adding a veteran presence in the secondary might not be the worst idea. Someone who's been around the league long enough to organize a huddle and get guys lined up before the snap. It's the small things, communication, positioning, accountability, that separate average defenses from disciplined ones. If the front office can find a reliable depth signing at DB or linebacker, that stabilizing voice could make a real difference. Also, make the coaching staff accountable for measurable improvements. Fewer blown coverages, better run fits, and at least neutralizing opponent third down efficiency. If those metrics don't move over a couple of weeks, make a deeper change. Now, looking at the big picture, playoff hopes aren't gone. They're shaky, sure, but not gone. The Cowboys have enough offensive firepower to win 9 or 10 games if the defense can just hold opponents under about 24 points. That's not an impossible ask. The defense doesn't need to be elite right now, it just needs to be functional. If they can clean up missed assignments and get a few turnovers back on their side, this team could flip the narrative in a few weeks. So I'll leave you with this final ask. Vote in the poll. Do you still believe this Cowboys team can make the playoffs? Yes or no? And tell me in one line what it'll take for you to believe. Again, maybe it's a coaching change, maybe it's leadership stepping up in the locker room, or maybe it's just consistency on Sundays. Whatever it is, your voice matters here because this is your team as much as it's theirs. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and help us reach our goal of 16,000 subscribers. We're building a community of real Cowboys fans who want answers, not excuses. Every like, every comment, every voice helps grow this channel and keeps these conversations honest. Thanks for sticking with me through a tough one.